Before watching this video, I direct you to my 2 articles on Deuteronomy 13, which speak on the resurrection of Jesus and why it is not refuted by the text of Deuteronomy 13. With that out of the way, let us get started. It's an obvious given in the scriptures that a supernatural experience does not always come from God, and thus we need to exercise caution in this matter, lest we be led astray. Whatever supernatural experience a person has, and they feel with their heart that this experience is authentic, this cannot be left unchecked. This would also include those who follow the false prophet Maestro Errano M. Evangelista, considering his claim of a supposed true prophecy he had. The same can also be said of the Kansas City prophets, namely John Paul Jackson, Rick Joyner, and many others who are in that movement, as well as Mike Bickle and Lou Engle, who they themselves, Michael Brown, has championed as great men of God. Though of course it is an obvious given that the men I've listed who are part of the Kansas City prophets have made false prophecies, and even they admit this themselves, thus they're automatically false prophets. But even if one prophet were to have a supposed true prophecy, this particular argument is addressed on my second article on Deuteronomy 13, which can be found in the description below. And sadly, most of Errano M. Evangelista's followers are bereft of any meaningful and rational defense of their prophet, often claiming he can't be refuted just because he said so. It's circular reasoning at one of its bests. And of course there's the often quoted "don't touch God's anointed," which is not a proof text for a true prophet anyway, and that verse has been commonly abused. You'll find the abuse of that text addressed in my video regarding this issue, and also an article which expands on it. Jeremiah in Jeremiah 14:9 tells us that the heart is deceitful above all things, and rabbinic Jews know that supernatural experiences are to be tested, as do Christians who study the scriptures. Any supernatural experience has to be tested, and such can be found in Deuteronomy 13, and of course the words of Jesus in Matthew 7:21-23, Matthew 24, and its counterpart passages, namely Mark 13 and Luke 21. And of course Paul's constant exhortation to test everything, specifically in 1 Thessalonians 5. The false prophets in Egypt themselves performed signs and wonders in the midst of their people when they and Moses engaged in their duel, meaning Satan and the demons could also perform signs and wonders through false prophets, and God is not the only one capable of supernatural feats. Of course, angels are creatures rather than God, hence they don't possess omni attributes, which is another point neither here nor there. However, only God is capable of raising the dead, considering he is the author of life, and angels cannot raise man from the dead. Nor would God raise a false prophet from the dead in order to test his people. Maybe some extremely deceived people may follow them, but again, no such evidence in the Tanakh exists that Yahweh would raise a false prophet from the dead for the purpose of testing people. That does not happen. Even false prophets like Reinhard Bonk and Benny Hinn themselves cannot raise the dead, despite their claims, and when they are pressed for claims, cannot provide evidence to back up their claims. If the resurrection of Jesus happened, rabbinic Judaism and other religions are falsified completely. If it didn't happen, well, I think we all know the answer to that one. Thank you for taking the time to watch.